Dr. O, when Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell speaks, people listen. You and I were both dialed in and spending time with him on Wednesday when he came out and said basically we're not going to do anything.
He said a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew, right?
Yeah.
We knew he wasn't going to say anything.
I think we could have probably forecasted that specifically, but he did say, and the quote is he's taking a wait and see approach. He has been taking a wait and see approach. We're now so far away from the last cut that I don't remember when the last cut was. I think it was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the one thing that came out to me was, uncertainty about the economic outlook has increased further in the statement.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And he did point to the risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation have risen, he said, but those are risks. Again, the data isn't there at this time to suggest that this is, that this is manifesting. In fact, as you and I just talked on, as we kind of, produced the past episode, which focuses on the week ahead, the data doesn't really suggest much of anything just yet.
Yeah, exactly. The labor market's the labor market's pretty okay, but slowing. So I think we have to say that it's okay, but slowing. And when I say okay, I'm talking about the unemployment rate's pretty low still. Employment growth is somewhat normal, very balanced. You have a balanced labor market.
Mm-hmm.
But it slowed a lot, right? Of course, if we were adding over 240,000 jobs last year, we're adding 150,000 jobs, in the last 12 months on average, right? And so
just a quick stat on that. So the jobless claims report, came out, this week. And, so we got this data on May 8th. We're taping this on Friday the 9th. This came out on the 8th. Jobless claims actually fell 13,000, to 228,000. So, that's.
Yeah. The jobless claims numbers are highly volatile, right? So like the 1 week doesn't tell me anything all that much. I'll tell you what I look at though, is I look at the 4-week moving average. And then if you look at the 4-week moving average, well, on the 4-week on the balance, initial claims are up, to about 227,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still lower than we were, in March of this year, for example, right? And lower than we were in October of 2024 and lower than we were in August. So like the flow, right? The pace of people going into unemployment is actually slowing, right? It's consistent with the fact that layoffs are super low. Businesses are holding on to workers. They're not letting go of people. Okay. And that's good. You're looking at continued claims and, that number, has increased somewhat, right? Over the past, if you look at continued claims compared to say a year ago, well, that's ticked up a little bit. But it's been hovering around, slightly under, 2.1 million, claims. And so, sorry, I'm looking at two things here. Let me adjust my screen. Yeah. 2.1 million is your average, is your continued claims plus initial claims. And that's somewhat flat. It's hovering slightly under 2.1 million. And so, yes. And then you could argue, okay, well, there are people that are just not finding work because hiring rates have been very low. And those people are somewhat discouraged and they're, leaving the labor market. Yes. That there is some basis for that. But ultimately, you look at employment gains on a monthly basis. You look at employment gains for the past year. It looks only slightly softer than what it was like before the pandemic. Right. It's actually pretty normal. The numbers are pretty normal. So I am not quite concerned just yet. I think the concern for most people comes from the fact that basically there's been so much uncertainty, around policy. There's been, so much uncertainty, right, around the trade situation and the fact that maybe confidence is so low, right? For businesses and consumers. I think that's where the fear comes from, right? It's like, okay, we got all this stuff out there that we think is coming. We're not quite sure when and how it's going to show up and when it's coming, but we think it's coming because look, there's this trade war out there and, shipping volumes are falling and maybe we'll get price increases and so there's a lot of fear around there. And then the stock market the dive that we saw in March and April, of course, when you see your financial wealth decline, you panic and that panic leads to what we call a wealth effect, where you basically pull back on spending, you spend less and you hold back. And by the way, we saw the savings rate increase also. During that time, but we just got the latest, on the savings rates. It's actually come down a little bit again. So, again, like a lot of mixed signals. And so that's why the Fed is waiting.
Yeah. Well, it's too soon to tell. I totally get that. I appreciate your thoughts as always.